Oh yeah. It's the morning in on the east coast of the United States. I made it deliberately at 10 p.m. at 10 a.m. So we could catch some of you guys in Europe on Asia. So and listening from Ireland, Terry, welcome to Slot Leaders AMA. I hope you are following us on Slot Leader. We just hit 1,000 viewers, well, 1,000 subscribers. I'm still getting used to the lingo in YouTubing, so I'm kind of getting a hang of all these things. So good to have you, Terry, here. How's the weather in Ireland? Tarek Fozy. Italy. Oh, I love Italy. Never been though. I never been, but you know why I like Italy? I like it because of the food. We have a big store in New York called Italy. It's just spelled like eat, la manger. And my family loves going there. And my sons, they are addicted to the Italian waffles. You know, these small waffles that they sell there. It's their favorite thing. Red, green, blue. Oh yeah. How are you, red, green, blue? Oh, somebody's watching from Singapore. I love Singapore. I studied in INSEAD there. A beautiful, beautiful place. I traveled so much from there. Went to Bali and all these other places. Did scuba diving in the most interesting place in Sipadan. Amazing place. Singapore is one of my favorite destinations in Asia. From Canada, Toronto, Saki, welcome. Welcome to Slot Leaders AMA. Good to see you. Oh, absolutely, Tarek. Spaghetti and Parmigiano? Yes, absolutely. This is my favorite sort of, my kids really love that. Um, and Ada Angels. Hi, hi. Amy. Um, Amanda. Sorry, Amanda. I'm still not woken up. Trying to get my coffee. Sir Walker from Lockdown, California. Interesting. Is that a actual city or is it you're, you're just making fun of California? Cold and rainy, Terry, huh? Yeah, it was kind of overcast here. We had snow in the East Coast. Kids played outside and whatnot. Not bad. Turkey. Efsane. Ah, Efsane is from Turkey. Oh, I lived in Turkey. Nasılsın is that how you say it? Nasılsın? Good job. All right. Well, so you've had so many different things. We've had so many amazing things happening in Cardano, and I thought, I don't get to talk to you on the slot leader that much. There's a lot of comments on the video, and I try to catch up with all of them. But I thought, my audience deserves a special time on their own, where you could ask your questions, talk to me, anything goes, right? So we're not constrained by the time and the content that the format of the slot leader requires. So yeah, this time is just basically for you and me, and to get to know each other, try to basically see what your concerns and comments are, and what questions you might have about Cardano. I know that we have been releasing, when I say we, I'm talking about Cardano, and IOG. We have been releasing a lot of great stuff over the past week, and I am so psyched about what's gonna happen. I mean, it's just in watching the markets is just another thing, and I'm not talking about the crypto markets because they have their life of their own. I'm kind of connected to the traditional markets and seeing the type of interest that the digital assets are having, and people are onboarding so fast. It's just mind-boggling. I'm sure if you'd followed me on Twitter, you've seen some of my posts where I do the price comparison, right, between what's going on and what prices you might get for digital assets. And if you are an institutional investor, you have constraints and what you need to pay in order to have exposure to the same 10 assets. And to me, that's a no-brainer. That there's big interest from the institutional investors and they want to get in. The problem there is that they don't have enough avenues to get into this space, which means they need to pay 3 times, 4 times more than the asset price, the underlying asset price. So that, if you think about it, this is pretty much the market, the real market price of these assets. Whatever you're holding in the top 10, if you're basically saying, if you replicate that index that Bitwise has and you hold it, you can actually see real time what the actual value of those holdings is. And it's right there in front of you. It's amazing that the retail investors, mom and pop and whatever, they have such a amazing opportunity to come in and grab these assets at these prices. I'm quite psyched about this. And that's another thing that I love about crypto, that all the information is out there. And there's no obfuscation, there's no obscurity, and you can just make the decisions if you have the analytical mind, or if you read some of the articles that I post. For instance, I try to do the analysis for myself and give you guys my view of things, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So let's take a look who else has joined. All right. Just making fun of Canada. Yes, Walker. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I mean, I've been getting so much love from the audience. When I started, I never thought that I'm going to hit these numbers. It's such a short period of time. I'm glad that you like the content, and I'm trying to bring these two sort of different parts of my life together, because I really love technology. I really love blockchain. I am a stake pool operator. I operate Sky and Sky 2, and I've been in the trenches with these guys, the developers, and all these stake pool operators, brilliant guys, for a long time. I mean, it's amazing to see how this ecosystem has sprung up from whatever it was. I have read all the papers that, most of the papers that IOG has posted, and it's amazing to see how this whole thing is coming to life. It's just amazing, that we just released the DevNet for KAVM, and it's just, rolling out one after another, and it's excitement. I mean, I cannot stop talking about this stuff. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Okay. Saki is saying that it is going to snow here in the afternoon, going to get 10 to 20 centimeters. Oh, that's nice. I really like snow. I mean, I like all the seasons. I like to experience the whole, spectrum of weather. And sometimes I want to get out and be in the warm weather when it's too cold for too long. I lived in Minnesota, and that was, kind of like living in Russia. So let's see. The Hill is from India. Hi, I've been to India, Delhi. Amazing place. Yes, Amanda, I owe one for you. I will send you a video. She's asking if I could send him a holiday video. Your Cardano update. Hi. Yeah, these guys are from DC. I started the meetup group in DC for Cardano for a long time. I did that on my own, and it was cool. Crypto Collector. Hi, Crypto Collector. Crypto Collector, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't watched the video, the interview with Liquid on Pay's YouTube video, but I mean, I don't see why you couldn't be in the Liquid network and still earn your staking. So Crypto Collector is asking, so with Liquid, did I hear them on Pay webcast, you will be able to stake and also yield farm on liquid, or did I misunderstand them? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there are many ways you could slice and dice these things. I would hope that when you when you stake, you should be okay to yield. I mean, this is the philosophy of Cardano. I mean, if you look at the competition and everything, they can't solve the problem, so they have to restrict you one way or another with slashing and all these things, and that's kind of detrimental to the growth. I think Charles's vision is amazing in that regard. It probably has to do something with his philosophical stance on freedom, and the reason why we stake and we don't give up our keys to somebody else, just basically say, hey, you give us the money and control over our funds, is because he wanted this to work this way. So I stake, and the protocol distributes everything, so I don't have to give up my keys. So maybe, if they designed it with the same philosophy, they will have the same kind of functionalities that won't restrict you from holding your assets and collecting rewards of farming. Okay. So S. Walker is asking, do institutional investors want to hold ADA? Is that demand there yet? Not sure if they are educated enough and can barely wrap their heads around Bitcoin. Well, that's a great question, actually. The thing is that when I listen to Raoul Pal, for instance, when he understands Bitcoin really well. And Bitcoin is not a hard asset to understand. It basically says, okay, it's a digital network. It's as hard as an asset as gold, and we are trying to replace gold because we have these portability, censorship-resistant kind of properties that gold doesn't have. When you hold gold as an institutional investor, you actually hold a piece of paper. It's an IOU from the guy who actually holds gold in the vaults. And if something happens to that guy, and it's basically extreme risky sort of propositions, right? Then you're left with nothing, right? So Bitcoin has that. Bitcoin, when you hold an asset, digital asset, any digital asset, you actually hold it, and it doesn't weigh anything. You don't have to, except for those 24 words, you don't have to worry about anything else. So when Raoul Pal talks about Ethereum, I think he's just getting his head wrapped around Ethereum and what its value proposition is, and I think to myself, all these other institutional investors, actually, they are in that position, and they haven't even ventured out of Ethereum to find out what's out there. And I was in that position basically about 2 years ago when I entered the space, and I thought Ethereum is a really good idea. And it was until I started digging into the complications with the proof of work as being too constraining for smart contracts to actually exist. And I started thinking about proof of stake because I got exposed to that. And unfortunately, there was no other protocol out there that did it really elegantly. And there was only one, and that was Cardano. It was all on papers. So I thought to myself, if there is a project that I would like to support and I would like to see, become reality, it's Cardano, because it just kind of, it's both technical and philosophical, because Cardano doesn't restrict you overly. It just doesn't say, hey, stake with me, I'll hold your keys, or I am the guy who is going to distribute all these rewards. And if you think about it from a treasury perspective, it's the same thing too. Treasury is out there. It's like in an ether, and I'm not talking about Ethereum. It's just like out there, and the community decides who gets what. That's amazing. It has never happened before. So yeah, I mean, institutional investors need a lot of education, and I think the fact that Cardano is included in the constituents of the top 10 crypto actually raises its profile and brings it closer to the institutional investors. At least they will be looking at what they are holding in these top 10 cryptos and say, okay, well, let's dig in a little bit deeper into this Cardano thing and see what it's all about. So I think it bodes well for Cardano. So, but we're still far away, which also bodes well for those who are already in the system. So let's take a look at I hope I answered your question, S. Walker. Let's see, Cardano update, of course, finger. what catalyst projects are you interested in? So fingered is asking that question. Well, so there's two things that I'm interested in. It's basically getting funding for pool tool update. I think this is an underestimated platform in information aggregator in the Cardano community. That's led by really two brilliant software engineers, Gabor and Mike, and myself. I'm part of the team, so we have a proposal there. Then I have the slot leader, and apart from those, let's just take those away. Apart from those, I like Liquid. I think it has a potential. There's competition from Bondly for Liquid, but I mean, I like competition. Let's get more of these types of instruments in the system and see how it goes. The other thing that I like, I think I'm in favor of DCloud if it could be done, and it looks like Mark is going to, if he gets funded, he could do a whatchamacallit. He could do a minimum viable product, and we'll see what it looks like. At least those are the interesting sort of ideas that I kind of liked. The RENA is a good proposition also. I think that's and also software development kits. I think there was another thing that I really liked for Apple developers. And then those are the off the top of my head. I already voted for whatever I liked or disliked. But we'll see what happens. Good morning, Mr. Mont from New Jersey. Yes. Ada Angels, thank you so much. I really love your show too, and you have a really good taste. Jeremy Fissner, hey Jeremy. If you don't know, Jeremy is a finance guy who's just joined the Cardano Foundation. I'm so psyched to have more finance people because they understand what I'm talking about. I talk finance and I talk developers, I talk SPOs. I'm kind of in everywhere. Just because my mind goes into different kinds of directions. It goes deep. It's a fascinating place to be in. Thanks for your early research into Cardano. How did you see yourself as an SPO using structured ADA products to mitigate price risk or leverage returns? That's interesting. Yeah, look, Jeremy, I think about it a lot because here's what his question is, right? As an SPO, as a stake pool operator, you have a stream of income, and that's ADA, right, coming in. And since your expenses are mostly in fiat currencies, whether it's euro or US dollar or Singapore dollar, you are taking a risk in an exchange. And I think his question is, how do you mitigate those risks? And in the financial world, there are these forward and futures contract where you basically say, okay, I have this stream of income of this size, and I want to swap it into the another currency. In my case, it's going to be US dollars, and you can just basically say, all right, I'm just gonna. What it does is it kind of fixes an exchange rate for you. And the other party who's taking that part of the contract is basically betting that he's going to be overall in the green, and you are saying, okay, I don't care if I'm in the green or not, but at least I get certainty. So, Jeremy, if there's a product like this, I'm sure a lot of people at least will, if they will at least convert a part of that stream of income. It depends on your bullishness about ADA. I'm comfortable basically taking all of it right now in ADA and holding it. I'm not selling. But there might be other people who have expenses, who need to feed their kids and whatnot, and they might be interested in those kind of contracts. I would love to actually be part of the development of these instruments. If Cardano Foundation wants my input, I'll be more than glad to actually provide it. Yeah. So let's see what else is there. Mr. Mott says everybody is so concerned about where the price is going to top out at the new all-time high in the future. I'm more concerned with when it consolidates after the new high, so I could see where my return will be. Yeah, I mean, pricing is just so difficult to predict, and I think honestly, the crypto markets are not really mature, which is good if you know what you're buying, really. Crypto Correctly says, thanks for your thoughts, Ahmed. The future's bright. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a time, I think, a year ago or so, I was kind of having doubts about, the future development of Cardano and IOG and all that. But, I never stopped and thought that, hey, this is a scam or anything like that. It's just, doesn't make sense for people to spend their lives work to build this thing and then say, hey, oh, the code is broken. This is SushiSwap. Bye. It doesn't work that way. This is a solid project. It has a great potential, and I'm in it for a long haul. So Saki is saying the voting was very easy, but it's going to be easier in the future. I'm glad I voted. I'm glad you voted, Saki. It's so great to see about 500 million ADA being locked to vote. Actually, it's not locked this time, but yeah, it's good to see that. So let's see. Any thoughts on the upcoming regulations to self-custody wallets in the U.S.? Oh, the crypto. I think it's James, right? From the Cardano update. No, look. I really don't like that regulation because it means that every time you transfer money, you have to identify that person. And sometimes and if you think about crypto as being a medium of exchange, that kind of kills the whole thing. Because, if I'm selling you or if I'm buying from you, I don't have to know who you are or where you are. If I'm selling you a product, you just pay me and we will go, right, in our separate ways. Or if I'm transferring money to you, I don't have to sort of, it's impossible sometimes to know who's the other guy, and they can say whatever they want. So, I mean, I think it's just a unnecessary burden on exchanges and people. It's an example of not very smart regulation, to be honest. And I think if the U.S. goes that route, people and developers will go to another country where they don't have that regulatory burden. Because right now the space is developing really rapidly, and we don't like to take all our efforts and mental capacity to basically say, oh, we need to comply with this and this and that. And I understand what they're trying to do in treasury markets and all, but I think there could be more elegant solutions than that. My God, there's a lot of you guys, and I'm trying to catch up with everybody. Arthur Prestige is saying, hey, Umed, when is, in your opinion, should the big Cardano marketing campaign begin, especially as Goguen is now imminent? I don't really know. I don't have the visibility into like what's in the pipeline. And I think if I were to, plan the marketing campaign for this whole thing, I would plan it around the big launches. I'm a very much in favor of making it, collecting the big sort of types of news into a big bucket and releasing it in one date, just the way that Apple does, right? It just creates so much awareness. And I think, the IOG does an amazing job of producing these brilliant solutions, but they're like, here's another revolutionary thing called Hartford Combinator, enjoy. So they're very honest and modest, I would say. So, imagine some other company would just basically make a big deal out of it. Now, I mean, you got to give it to them, Charles Hoskinson and everybody else who are on this team, they do a great job of explaining it. But I think, revolutionary technology like this demands a higher sort of exposure. And I know that we're not there yet in terms of all functionalities. Maybe they have all these things. They have brilliant marketing people. I love Tim. Tim Harrison is a brilliant communicator. Every time I listen to his articles, it's just amazing to listen to his voice. So I really recommend that. So I'm sorry if I'm missing some of you guys. Deo Hanasan. Okay, in your financial experience, how long will it take before mainstream will adopt Cardano? What should Cardano Foundation prioritize to be in the mainstream? I think the institutional investors, they need on ramps and off ramps and the custody solutions, and I think we are very close to achieving those in the U.S. at least. So we have the Fidelity working on these things and all these others. And you know why they're working on it? Because there's demand. Everybody's asking about Bitcoin. Everybody's asking about Ethereum. I've been bombarded for the past like two weeks about requests about, hey, can you arrange an over the counter sort of sale for Bitcoin? I don't do these things, but the fact that I'm getting these requests, and the fact that some of the mainstream big figures like Ray Dalio. If you remember, if you were watching Slot Leader when Ray Dalio came out and said, Bitcoin has no value or whatnot, something along those lines, and I disagreed with him. And then after a couple of weeks, he's like, oh yeah, maybe I misunderstood something about this thing. So the thing is that the greatest investors, they have a flexibility of mind to re-examine their views in the face of new data. So let's see. What's your tweet? Okay, what do you think about Ergo? Emorgo partner Charles is a big fan. Seems like flying under the radar. Ergo is a very fascinating proof of work protocol. I think they try to solve the problem of centralization of computing power. That's my basic knowledge about it. That you don't end up with a lot of computing power basically usurping your network the way that Bitcoin does. I mean, Bitcoin, game theoretically, 4 or 5 big pools basically decided they're not gonna consolidate over 50% because it's detrimental to the whole network. But and Ergo has solved that problem. So that in that regard, it's an amazing sort of platform. I wish I had time to actually study it in more detail, but there's so much new things coming in the Cardano ecosystem that I just don't have enough time, unfortunately. I have to check how I find you. Beautiful work. Thomas Boyson. I hope I pronounce your name correctly, Thomas. He says, Hi, I always hear Pluto's Prism, but never understand what those are. Thank you. So Thomas, in a basic form, Prism is, just think about it as your digital passport. And if you're in the United States, just think about it, your digital social security number. And this is a number that identifies you to the network in case of Cardano. And increasingly, I think in the future, it will identify you as a person in the world. And the beautiful thing about the Prism is that that identity, that number is only yours and you are in possession of it. And you might give some authority access to it, to your records, at least in its design, the way I understand it. But that access is going to be very limited in time, and it's not going to be forever. Nobody's going to store your information. One of the things that I really disliked about the way that we got hacked in the United States, for instance, right? Not Experian, but Equifax got hacked, and 250 million records of people just got disseminated. Like everybody who lives in the United States, basically your information is public, and if somebody wants to steal your identity, they can, right? And one of the things that I disliked about that is being somebody who likes his freedom and liberties. I never gave my consent to some third party collect information about me and store it somewhere and then get hacked because they didn't do a good job of having security protocols. And that's another thing that we need to consider, that centralized solutions in the world of internet and interconnectedness, they are high targets. They are honeypots for bad actors, and there will always be vulnerabilities because of the fact that we're dealing with IT and technology, and there will always be software bugs and whatnot that will allow these things. So the best way to do it is just to change the architecture completely, right? So what Prism does what Prism does is that says, okay, we won't have a central authority that collects all that data. You are responsible for your own identity, and all you can do is just go to an authority and then present X, Y, Z, and then they will issue you a number, and that number will be in your possession. And whoever asks for it, for whatever reasons they might need to have it, you are in control of giving it to them for a certain period of time. So at least that's my understanding of the design of Prism. So what will happen, let's say, for instance, you're going to the bank to get a loan, and right now you just basically give them consent. You don't actually have to give, that's another thing. You don't even have to give you a consent that they will look into your credit score, right? They just go and take a look at your credit score, and if you're credit worthy, then they will give you the loan. But in Prism, my understanding is that you give them the consent. You just basically say, okay, you have I don't know, 2 days or 3 days to take a look at all my records and see if I'm a good credit. And but once those 48 hours have expired, for instance, then you basically lose that privilege, and that privilege goes back to me. And that way you are completely in your possession of your own identity. It's cryptographically secured. No hacker can do it. And if some hackers want to, compromise your identity, they will have to target you specifically. But there is no entity out there that's holding 300 million records where the payoff for your effort is just so huge. So it just basically changes the whole game theoretic dynamic about hacking, and it's an amazing solution. So that's about Prism, right? Now, if you think about Plutus, it's just another programming language that is secure. That's more secure. It's what we call a functional programming language that is designed to actually reduce the number of mistakes that the developers make. And I've played around with F# a little bit, and I can tell you that it's like building puzzle pieces. You just put a lot of puzzle pieces around, and then at some point it just all comes together. And when it comes together, it asks you to do a lot of tedious work in the beginning. It says, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. It's like a very strict, grandmother. But once you follow all those rules and understand that what needs to be done, then it just works. There's no bugs or nothing on the runtime. So it basically just works, right? So that's the great thing about Plutus and Haskell, and I can see that in running my node because it's just smooth. It's just smooth. It just works, right? No problems with compared to what we had in Jormungandr early days. When you didn't know if you're gonna get a block or mint a block because your node wasn't connected and whatnot. It's just a completely different experience. So I hope I kind of got, I understand that these things could be very technical, but I hope I got some answers there. So let's take a look. Yeah, Jeremy, I definitely agree with you. Tim is amazing in terms of getting his points across. Yeah, as Walker, you're right. There is, as I was saying, it's there is some disconnect in a sense that we are not advertising it as much as we could, but we are building right now, and I'm not saying we because it's all IOG and Amorgo and Cardano Foundation doing all that, but the time will come where we can actually work on something that actually works and has a real use case. Maybe that would be the time to actually ramp up the efforts, because we will, there's one thing that I would like to get across. We are not normal people, right? Anybody who's in crypto right now and trying to get in and try to understand this space, you are intellectually very curious people, and not a lot of people are like that. The average person is going to ask questions like, okay, well, this crypto, what does it help me do, right? And if your answer is going to be too out there in terms of not being connected to some demand, some form of product that people use every day, you will lose that audience. And it's hard to sell an infrastructure like that, right? I mean, who knows about TCP/IP in the real world? Or who knows about SMTP? But these are the protocols that actually power your email and power your internet connections, right? Website surfing and whatnot. And kind of Cardano is like that at this point. It's just that we have so much information about it because it's so so fundamental. What will happen, and when that will happen, it's going to change the world, is that we will start building dApps on top of this protocol, and nobody needs to know it's Cardano, right? I mean, your app is going to run the way that it runs on your Android machine or on iOS, but the backend is going to be all the Cardano infrastructure, and that Cardano infrastructure is going to accrue all that value that generates that dApp generates. So that's where we're going. We will see an uptick in demand and in interest when we start producing dApps that do the same things that the centralized their centralized counterparts do have, but in cheaper, faster, better ways. And we start giving options back to people, like in the case of the identity solutions, Prism, for instance. I can see a really good case. Yeah, Equifax is gonna lose their business. I don't care, really. I don't. I think they lost my trust the moment they lost the records, because this is the one thing they were supposed to do, right? This one thing they were supposed to do is to, okay, I mean, I could have lived with the fact that it's in the central repository somewhere, but as long as it's secure, right? But we know that it's not secure, and it can't be secure in an age of internet and interconnectedness. So the best way to secure it is to decentralize it and give it back to people, and then, be done with that side of economy, and just, they could reorganize, be something else. Because I don't see, honestly, I don't see them, having any relevance in the future. That and Visa and MasterCard, those are the kind of dying dinosaurs. And the fact that we still have MoneyGrams and Western Unions of the world is just mind-boggling, to be honest. They are completely redundant. I don't think they should exist in the world where we can send value to across the world in seconds, and not have to pay 20% of our value that we send. It's just, they're like dead men walking. Let's see. If my pool lowered the pledge, should I move? Candace B5 is asking if my pool lowered the pledge, should I move? I don't think that lowering pledge is a negative move in that regard. There could be numerous reasons for SPOs to remove their pledge, and one of them is a security issue, to be honest. Now, when we started the Haskell testnet, we did not have the luxury, and we still don't have the luxury of pledging from the hardware wallet, which is the most secure way of doing this. So we had to generate some address on the CLI in an air-gapped machine, and then port that address into the CLI when we issued the command of pledging and whatnot. And it is inherently less secure to hold your life savings as a pool operator on a CLI based address, because it can get hacked. Recently, one of the people got hacked, and the SPOs got hacked, and I thought that person was quite capable. They lost all their life savings, and it was sad. And SPOs could be moving, stake pool operators could be moving their pledge in response to that. So don't take that as a sign of no confidence. The second thing that I want to address here is that pledge in and of itself does not generate enough extra revenue to actually make it a pledge, neither for the pool operator nor for the stakeholders. So it's just basically putting a lot more money into the system, and not getting enough, and increasing the risk of getting hacked. So I would be happy to up my pledge on my pools, for instance, if we have the ability to pledge right from the hardware wallet. I'll be more than happy to do that. But for the time being, I'm just going to stick with whatever is there. So I mean, if you do the analysis, it's not a big deal. Now, there are people who pledged a lot of money to show that they're supporting the network, and I understand them. It's their choice, and if you don't have any other information about the SPO, about the pool that you are delegating to, the pledge could be a proxy for the guy's seriousness, because you don't want to take your chances and find out 10 days or 15 days down the road that the pool that you delegated to isn't performing because the person does not know how to run a pool. And there are many, not many, but there are many. Okay, there are some pools right now who are not upgraded to 1.224.2, which is the latest release, and they will be not producing blocks, and their delegators will be disappointed. So it's always good to pledge to delegate with a pool that is known and knows what they're doing. So go to pool2.io and see if these pools are producing blocks, and they've been producing consistently. And I'm not basically trying to say that the new pools are not, they're risky, but with the absence of information, it becomes risky to delegate to a new pool unless you know definitely that these people behind these pools have the right qualifications, so that would be kind of my, if I just entered the space and I was looking for a pool to delegate to, I would look at how long they've been doing it. I would look at whether they have been in ITN, because that's experience right there talking about it. And I would look at the rewards and awards that they have on PoolTool, because if you've been really good and you've produced blocks in ITN, you would get these awards, and that kind of gives you the sense of sort of quality and sense of assuredness that this pool is actually going to perform. There are these ranking systems. I don't think they are quite there yet in terms of like reflecting the reality. For instance, the Daedalus ranking still ranks the pools near saturation really high, and I don't know why they do that, but anyway, so that would be my sort of 2 cents. That would be how I would sort of approach this. So there is candidates. Yes, the fact that somebody lowered their pledge, unlikely going to affect your rewards, unless their pledge was like 30 million and then they went to like 100K or something. I've looked at how many ADA, the entire space has pledged. We have one guy who had 10 million, I think, but beyond that, nobody has that much money. So unless you're with that guy who had 10 million and then they went to 100K, you're not going to lose that much. But if you were with that guy, then nobody else is going to offer those kind of returns anyway. So whether you have you are with a pool that has pledged 100K or a 1 million K, your returns are going to be roughly the same. Okay. Marketing, yes, no problem. Maria, hi. It's good to see you here. How our virtual machine is better than Ether virtual machine? That's a great question, Maria. So it takes us to the idea of K, right? The K framework. The way that I see it is that well, actually, the way that it was designed, it goes back to 2017. So there is this. Think about it, a set of rules. K framework basically says if you want to define your language with using my framework, you have to follow certain rules. And when you follow them, your language will become more robust and more secure. So when the Ethereum virtual machine or Solidity was translated into KVM, into a KVM, a KEVM defined language, then it became more robust. That's why they say that KEVM is 99% the same as EVM, because it probably adds a little bit robustness. I think, maybe there are things that couldn't be resolved or they didn't find. I remember the author of KEVM, or was it runtime verification? The name of the company out of Illinois. He was saying that there were some missing documentations on EVM, and they just basically made some assumptions about how to make it better or something like that. So yes, KEVM is a better version of EVM in that regard, because it probably has less security holes, or things that could be eventually exploited, in my view. Okay, so Mr. Multi-Checker is saying, I think the reinforcing mechanism of Project Catalyst will lead to exponential growth. Excited for 1 billion funds when ADA hits all-time high. Innovations will be huge. I agree with you, Mr. Multi-Checker 7. I think, we have an enormous potential in this space, and if the prices out there really high, then it means that we have so much economic potential to fund projects. And right now we have 250,000, right, in round 2, and we have great number of projects, right? But fast forward 2 or 3 years down the road, when ADA, let's say, is $5, right, or $10, you won't see individual people asking for funds. You will see the Microsofts of the world, the IBMs of the world coming in and pitching ideas. And when they come and pitch ideas, they would probably be looking for, 10 million, tens of millions and dollars for funding, and their products are going to be earth-shattering in that regard, because, like it or not, they employ people who have education and skill set that dictates that they get paid enough to to contribute. And as the price of ADA goes, our ability to hire those people through the Catalyst funds is going to become more likely. So when you hire more brilliant engineers to work on your protocol will become much better as a result. So sky's the limit in that regard, right? So as long as the price follows, and the price will follow if we start building dApps that will solve real problems, then we will have ever more increasing economic power to actually attract really talented people, talented companies coming in and building on this technology. It's kind of a virtuous cycle, right? You have a pot of money that is out there that's going to be distributed to developers, and they will come, and hopefully by that time we will have a really good framework to assess all these projects. I am working on an article where I will outline my framework, the way I would, as a financial professional, would use the information given to us on the Catalyst in order to critically assess the potential of projects and how they add value to the ecosystem. And hopefully somebody, we all collectively, create this into something more meaningful. So what I'm saying is that when we have these companies, we should have in place frameworks to evaluate their potential really well, because we don't want to waste money, right? That's another thing that I would like to touch upon. There could be really good projects out there, but there could be some projects that have dubious sort of, intentions, and we need to be able to look at these things critically without actually killing the innovation, and see that we fund the most promising ones. So let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Canadace B5. It's it's always good to interact with you, and it's a great thing to be able to talk to you and get your questions. You guys are amazing. Jose Castro is saying, "Good morning, Umed. Do you happen to know a factual source that talks specifically at how the original ADA sales proceeds, how the original sales proceeds were allocated and spent. People I introduced Cardano to have asked. I'm not sure. So that's a really good question. I think early in the days we had a resource somewhere. Was it on Cardano Foundation's website? I mean, I could look it up, but there was a source of information. That's a web page that showed how much money was raised and where that money came from. And I think everything was KYC'd, AML'd in Japan. They have outlined. It's an outline of how much Bitcoin was raised and how much dollars was raised. I think and I think they raised like 60 million. It's amazing what they have achieved with 60 million. There are projects that raise like $4 billion, and they're not even in the top 10, right? I don't want to hate. Everybody has something to add to this community, and honestly, Cardano probably wouldn't be where it is without those competitors trying to solve a problem. It's just that Cardano does it better. That's what I think. All right. S. Walker is saying, I noticed the recent increase in the number of delegators, now hitting over 100K. Why a recent increase in the users, in your opinion? At this rate, network might be 75% staked by early next year. Yeah, so S. Walker is asking a very good question. It's like, look, people are interested when the price goes up, and ADA has been showing a very good price dynamics over the past year. I think we are at 400 at something percent year to date, and people gravitate towards projects that are showing signs of promise, and that reflects in the price, and they might be buying more. The only thing that I would like to caution against is that the number of UTXOs with 100K does not necessarily mean that those are individual holders. You could be just one holder that's spending those UTXOs, and the change goes back to a UTXO that has 100K, and that could be this one person. So, as you interact with the protocol more, then the number of addresses that have these kind of numbers would go up. But in general, I would agree that, probably the interest has definitely grown. If you look at how the number of community members in different social media has grown, you can basically use those as proxy and say, hey, we've got more people in the ecosystem, and that translates into more holders of ADA. And it's okay if it's 75% staked. I mean, we are getting our rewards assuming that 100% is staked. So there's no negative consequences for you as a holder, whether 75% is staked or 50% is staked. But there is a positive outcome if more stake is staked, because the network becomes more secure as a result. So if there's more stakeholders and they are staking a lot of ADA, it only bodes well for the security, technical security of the network. Have you read Thomas Sowell? John E. I don't know. Is he an economist, or I would like to know. I mean, I'm always looking for new ways to learn about this space and economy and whatnot. So it was 62 million. I think Jose was talking about 62 million. What was he referring to? Let's see. I'm not sure. Right. Maybe he's referring to the saturation point. Mr. Multi-Checker is saying that this is so great that everyone in the Cardano community informs and educates so well. It is so valuable for me that you try to bridge the gap, technical gap, and the business world. Very valuable. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Multi-Checker. This is some of the things that I see because I live in these two worlds, in the traditional finance world. And this is my background, right? I talk to people who are executives and hedge fund managers and whatnot, and they just look at me when I post on my personal Facebook some of the technical stuff that I do. And I recently posted the dashboard of my stake pool, and they thought that my account got hacked because they couldn't understand what I was talking about. If you told me 5 years ago that I will be running a stake pool, I would say you're crazy. It's not that I am not technically capable. I'm very capable of understanding these things, but I just thought that these things were out of my realm. I was, don't get me wrong, I built my first computer when I was 17, 18. I'm very good at parsing. This is the thing about computer science, right? And running stake pools. If you are logical, if you are analytical in your mind, and that's what we are in the finance industry, but we are basically, if we don't know, we at least know what to ask and how to frame questions in order to get what we want. And with Cardano, it's just amazing how fast a person can grow. That's my tale, at least, because when I started in ITN, I thought it was too technical. I mean, right now I'm writing Bash scripts and I'm managing my nodes. I've learned so much that I can manage my nodes on the fly. I could be anywhere in the world. I can manage my nodes, and I've set it all up like that. And I learn new things every day. It's just such an amazing time to be. John E is he's a famous economist. Thank you for bringing it up, John E. I'll take a look at him. What does he talk about? Is he like a Austrian economist kind of type of guy? And that's the thing about economists, right? You talk to them and some of them completely misunderstand Bitcoin, for instance, right? There's this incident that I had with one economist. It's an old guy. He was just kept telling me that, hey, Bitcoin can be printed up ad infinitum, right? There's no supply cap. And he failed to understand the game theoretical part of it, because in order for Bitcoin to be inflated away ad infinitum, you have to get everybody who runs the nodes or runs the pools to agree to a new set of rules. And that's the hardest part in the network. I mean, people try to do that, right? Who has succeeded to significantly shift Bitcoin from its current or original vision, or not original vision, but original state, or what's that? People who try to do anything, to talk about, increasing the cache or, the payload for transactions. There was a big debate. Not everybody agreed. Bitcoin Cash was born, right? And everybody who held Bitcoin got Bitcoin Cash. So, it's like if you are holding that asset in the beginning, and that's a beautiful thing about like holding Bitcoin early on, is that you got a lot of free coins that have their own market cap and market value, right? And so it's not easy to change monetary policy in decentralized networks. Once they are set, you could just basically say, it's impossible, because not everybody is going to follow one guy who says, okay, I'm going to do this, and you have to get more than, in the case of Bitcoin, more than 50% of the of miners to actually agree to that, and even that threshold is not being met with a lot of changes. And Bitcoin in that respect commands respect and commands a premium because it's been so stable. And in the financial markets, there's one thing that commands premium is stability, predictability, right? If you are saying that, hey, I'm going to produce Bitcoin or any other digital asset at this rate, right? And you say this is fixed, guys. It's fixed forever until we run out of the treasury funds. The reserves, right? In the case of Bitcoin, every 4 years you get halving, right? If you change that rule very often, right, then you lose credibility in the face of as a financial instrument, because people cannot plan their lives, their dApps, or whatever, around that stability. And I think that's the biggest selling point for crypto assets, that they have a predetermined schedule and that they have a capped supply. Those two things should be cast in stone. And when I talk about Cardano, and I think it has to be cast in stone in the sense that we will have everything changeable in the Cardano protocol. Anything can be changed, but you need to basically set the thresholds really high for the cap supply. We're talking about 90%, and then you will never be able to change it. And the emission rate, because there are other ways you could, for instance, compensate for costs of running your dApps. For instance, if let's say that ADA gets really expensive, right, and gets to 10, 15, 20 dollars, and if you use the current sort of transaction fee method, the transaction costs could be really high for developers. So what do we do? Excuse me. We basically say, all right, we will change these transaction fees, and we will make it so that it's dynamic. And that's another thing that really excites me is that if we could introduce the singularity into this whole equation, so that the transaction prices fluctuate based on the price of ADA. So if the price of ADA goes up, the transaction costs go down, while keeping the network still secure against DDoS attacks, etc., etc. So I mean, that's the part that amazes me about the really well thought out architecture of Cardano, that it's so well thought out that you don't have to compromise your monetary policy in order to appease or to make sure that developers produce in your network. That doesn't happen in Ethereum and unfortunately in Bitcoin, because as the network gets congested, the prices go up, and sending the quality isn't consistent. So they've nailed the monetary policy there. I'm not talking about Ethereum, because I think they have an uncapped supply. So I inherently don't trust those systems, because Vitalik could just basically say, I don't know, we're just gonna increase the supply or whatever. You can't say anything about that, right? There's no governance that will preclude these 2 or 3 guys to actually do whatever the hell they want. And that's not the case in Cardano. It has the capped supply of Bitcoin, but has all the beautiful capabilities of proof of stake that will allow it to create amazing dApps. And it's cheap. It's faster. I mean, why would you want to build anything on Ethereum? I just don't get it. People talk about the network effects. It's just like saying, oh wow, I'm the biggest fish in this pond, and it's hard to compete with me. And Cardano is competing on a whole new level. I mean, if you look at the partnerships that they're striking, it's not like some dude. I'm sorry. It's not like some guy basically creates a sushi coin or whatever, and then tries to scam the rest of the space. It's a completely different game, and you can't basically say that Cardano doesn't have this and that. We are early in the space, early in the stage of development. We are just rolling out the devnets, and once people play with them, I'm sure people will come, because at this point you will have to be a complete idiot to keep developing somewhere where it's more expensive. There's security holes, and if you're a serious dApp developer, you don't want to build on something that has been built on a shaky sort of ground. That said, I wish them well. I really liked Ethereum in the beginning until I found something better, right? Right. Let's see here. Who will fill the gap after Cardano effect? Oh, I have to give them all the kudos that they deserve. Rick and Felipe. I mean, these guys were there when in the depth of the bear market, when nobody wanted to actually talk crypto, right? And they were kind of like a beacon of hope for the entire community, and they kept it going and whatnot. I mean, I wish them well. I'm sure they have other plans than being podcasters and whatnot. So, we've got other guys, right? We've got Peyton, who's doing a great job actually. I really like the way that his shows are formatted and everything. And Kaizen Crypto is doing a great job. And I think the guys out of Washington D.C. I forgot they was it Your Morning Crypto or something like that. That podcast is pretty good too if you want to get the latest news and whatnot. Very well articulated. So, Tweet Bangulang is saying maybe see to say 18 cents. Yeah, I know. At some point I stopped looking at the price because I mean I'm excited every time there's an all-time high or the price goes up. But I look at the fundamentals, and when I look at the fundamentals, I'm just I'm lost for words because this asset class is going to completely change the world. Cardano is going to be in the forefront, right? For that. Yeah, we might see 18 cents. Who knows? This place moves so fast. And, when it goes down, it moves fast. When it goes up, it moves fast. So, yay, right? The ride is quite... Sometimes I think about the guys who invest in bonds. And for those of you who don't know, the bond market is very sort of tight in a sense that the prices don't move that much. And if you get a 25 basis points in movements in prices, just like the end of the world or the euphoria, right? Somebody gets like a lot of bonuses in the financial industry. It's nothing compared to crypto because here you can have a 8% day or 10% day, and it's just like, oh, okay, it was Tuesday. so you kind of get desensitized about price movements in crypto, and you can sit on losses of 90%. But that, if you can stomach those things, means that you will be able to have good returns also if you enter in those sort of low levels. So hopefully it's breeding the new kind of investors that are very highly tolerant to risk, I think. So, okay, I will, John E. Thank you. I will Google Thomas Sowell and see what he's all about. He's saying that I think you will like him. His famous economics book called his Basic Economics. By the way, I have this book. I don't know who recommended it to me, but it's called Economy in One Lesson or something like that. I haven't started reading it, but I want to kind of revisit the basics sometimes and see if I missed something. That's the danger with being in the industry for so long, that you don't question some of the things like money, right? And when you start questioning it, you come at completely different revelations. S. Walker is saying, anyone impressed by the speed of sending and receiving ADA these days compared to Ethereum? Yeah, I mean, these two protocols are completely different, right? You can't even compare that. They are proof of stake is vastly superior to proof of work in terms of speed. It's just it's a no-brainer. In the proof of work, you can achieve those things if you reduce the decentralization parameter. But the proof of stake doesn't require that. And that actually goes back to like how you source randomness. In proof of work, you source it outside from the miners. In proof of stake, that randomness is sourced inside. It just comes from the coins. And which is amazing also because, everybody's a miner. Every stakeholder is a miner. If you want, you can set up your own node and don't have to delegate to anybody if you know how to do it. If you, because you are the source of the information, the source of randomness, also the source of power to produce a block. When the pool is producing a block, they're just acting on your behalf, to be honest. It could be your ADA that got picked, and just because it was part of that pool operator gets the privilege of approving a block on your behalf. And the network, everybody checks whether that's correct. And that's just fascinating. I mean, you send money around the world, the guy gets it in 10 seconds. If this is not a miracle in this day and age, I don't know what is. And I worked in the financial industry, right? I used to work in different countries, and I would send money back and forth between my, the American account and my account overseas. It takes days. It takes sometimes weeks to get all these, like, to check all the boxes and whatnot. And I understand why they do it, AML and KYC and all that. But with decentralized networks and identities, especially, we're talking about Prism. These things will be seamless. You don't even have to feel it. If you're a good guy, you're gonna be kind of green lighted across the whole network, and you won't even feel it, right? But if you're a bad guy, you will get caught. That's how these things will work. And I think in the way I see it, that these decentralized open networks like Cardano will be ubiquitous, and the governments of the world will be in the important choke points to make sure that they catch the bad guys, because you will have to interact with these choke points in order to be economically sort of to conduct your economic life. So you don't have to regulate the entire decentralized space. It's impossible, but you can regulate the choke points. The way that we are already seeing, and if you're in the United States, you want to open up a cryptocurrency account in an exchange, they will ask you for ID, etc. It's like in 2017, that wasn't the case. You could just trade anywhere. That was one of the wildest experiences of my life, because when I came to this place, there was this USDT, and it's a token, and everybody thinks that it's $1. I used to ask myself, it's like, is it actually backed? And nobody knows, but it's like, yeah, we all decided that it's $1. And then we found out that it's not $1, right? And then we still started trading it as it is $1, right? And that's a fascinating part of the game theory, I guess, So, Mr. Multi-Checker 7 says, do you know how liquid Obali account for the high volatility of Cardano? As a borrower, volatility for the real life usage will be a big hurdle and could lead to credit defaults. What do you think? So you're asking a good question. In the financial industry, there are, as Jeremy was asking earlier, there are instruments that kind of dampen that volatility. And if you're dealing with something like ADA or Bitcoin or Ethereum in a wrapped form in a liquid network, for instance, you will have a chance, I'm hoping you will have a chance to convert it immediately into, not converted, I would say. So you will still hold your, cryptocurrency token, but it will behave like US dollar. Let's put it that way. So if let's say the dollar amount of your locked ADA is going to be constant because you entered also into a futures contract or a forward contract that guarantees a certain exchange rate. So those kind of things will exist in order to smooth out the volatility. And we know from experience from the traditional markets that they work. If you look at the derivatives markets in the United States, it just far outpaces the amount and volume of the underlying assets. And that's because, if I'm growing corn, I don't want the weather to actually be the determining factor in my ability to make money and service my debt, because all these farmers have debts. They buy equipment, they buy seeds, etc., etc. And those payments are fixed. And the best way to reduce the risk is to basically say, okay, I'm selling you this corn, which I'm going to harvest in September, but I'm selling it to you in February, and I want this price. Not that you want this price, but the market is saying, if you want to sell it to me right now, you're going to get this price. And it might be lower or higher than the market price, but it will be a price that's fixed. and you don't have to worry about, whether between the February and September it will go up or down, because that risk is effectively transferred to the counterparty, who is a financial institution that has millions of these kind of contracts that kind of cancel each other out and leave that guy with a profit. So that's the way that the traditional markets actually work, and I think it will come to the crypto markets and the blockchain. And I think Cardano is the prime probably candidate for something like that to actually exist. I hope that answered your question, Mr. Multi-Checker 7. And that's one thing. The other thing is that you could actually, enter into the liquid, ecosystem with stablecoin. And then you don't have to actually worry about volatility. Cardano 24. Hello, Cardano community. Hello, Cardano 24. There's so many new kind of services and things are happening. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. I think how long have I been talking, guys? I don't even know. It's just not registering here. But yeah. So if you have any other questions, I think I went through all of them. But if I missed anything, please do let me know. Because I'm at the end of the sort of the list here, and we could talk about anything. I mean, it's amazing the time that we're living in. Germany, yeah, Germany. So Mr. Multi-Checker is from Germany. That's amazing. I love Frankfurt. Honestly, I used to like travel a lot, and that was the hub of my choice with Lufthansa. Amazing. I just love everything about Germany. Um, it's a great place, and I lived in France too. Um, yeah, Cardano 24. I don't know how to enable tips and whatnot. I will definitely try to figure things out for the next AMA. This is my first AMA, so sorry if I'm not doing everything that I was supposed to be doing, but I just wanted to kind of touch base with my the people who watch the slot leader, and give them a real feedback, get the real feedback and answer their questions in person. I think it's important for me to sort of get in touch with you guys. Um, yeah. Am I a tennis fan? Is that? Yeah, I've tried to play tennis. And I'm not a good tennis player. I think I would love to actually pick it up and do things. I like skiing. I think skiing is my favorite sort of winter activity. Um, and the I took my girlfriend for the first time. She went skiing back in the day. She was my girlfriend, now my wife. She started her first lesson in Alps. Yeah, don't ask me how that happened, but she actually was very brave, because it's the third time she started, doing the blue trails or whatnot. I don't know what they call them. I guess, yeah, trails. And she was scared. And but she did really well. I have to give it to her. She's crazy. We jumped together from an airplane. I wanted to do a skydiving, and she gave me a birthday present to do it together. And she was crazy enough to do that, with me. And yeah. Okay, that's it. Na, na, na. Is it too bright? Okay. Okay, let me just see if I can lower it a bit. Do you think this is better? Okay. Yeah, somebody told me. Somebody said, my the light is too bright. Okay, cool. You guys have any other questions? Um, we've got lots of people. I didn't think we have like so many people at the same time. It's amazing. I hope this thing gets saved. I think there's a DVR button that I chose to like turn it on. So hopefully this session will be saved for other people to see. I am sorry if I wasn't on your time sort of time zone or whatever, but at least this will be there to watch. A bit more or less. Let's see. This long? Thanks, John E. I try to do my best to educate people and to bring out. This is one of the things when you enter this space, um, you rely on people's honesty to basically give you information. And there's so many things that are you get bombarded with. And when I entered the cryptocurrency space, um, it was hard to get my you know information. When you're in Bitcoin, when you're in Ethereum communities, especially Ethereum, the information is just scattered everywhere. Everybody's opinionated. Everybody talks about these difficult concepts. And one of the things that I valued a lot, and if you have a logical sort of analytical mind, you start soaking in all the great information. And one of the things that I valued with the Cardano was Charles's AMAs, because they just made sense to me. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. This makes sense. That makes sense. There was no like ambiguity in the flow of logic that just attracted me. And I started basically whatever I did not understand, or if there were gaps in my knowledge about certain aspects of the protocol, I would just go back to the basics, and the website in Cardano.org, or the forum actually back in the day was very helpful. I got a lot of my knowledge by debating with some of the brilliant developers out there that existed in 2017 and 18, and debating with them about different aspects of the protocol. And it solidified my understanding to a degree that, I could just easily understand when people say that, oh, we're building this, we're building that. So you don't have to be, as a user, you don't have to be cognizant of these things. But if you're investing in and I'm investing in Cardano, right, you want to be as close to the technology and its capabilities as possible. And I just have a curious mind, and I try to explain whatever I understood in the most basic terms to the audience. And I hope I'm doing a half a good job as Charles is doing. And that would be my, sort of, I'd be happy if I do that. Okay, S Walker, yes, I definitely got the feedback. I'm gonna keep the lighting low so that you guys can see me better, like this. That's fine. Yeah, it's at the very lowest setting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have my stake pool has a Telegram where you can actually access me, talk to me directly anytime you want. Um, I will give it to you. I think it's called. Let me see. Just give me a second. Somebody was asking if they could talk to me on Telegram, but there are many channels that I'm a member of, but there are other people talking. The best way to contact me on Telegram is through my stake pool channel chat, and I think, let me just see. I'm gonna post it on the chat so you guys can reach me directly there. I have some of the really good delegators. I mean, I have a fun time talking to them and discussing things with them. If you're not a delegator, it's fine. You can just join and join the conversations if you like it. I'll just give it to you on the chat, and you will be able to ask your questions and interact with me anytime you want. All right, there you go. I don't have a Cardano.social profile, and that's probably I should have one, right? Is it like a Facebook for Cardano. Is that what it is? All right. I think I've been talking like for an hour and a half, but if you guys don't have any questions, maybe I could wrap it up. I just barely stole like an hour and a half from my family. I told them that my delegators and my viewers and slot leader need me. I promised that I'm gonna have an AMA, so I just snuck out. All right, S Walker and everybody. I think this is it was a great AMA. I think I really loved interacting with all of you. And yeah, if you're a stakeholder who's trying to basically find a good pool, we're still open. Sky and Sky 2, if you want to find a pool that you would like to delegate to that adds something to the community, if you like our show. But otherwise, live long and prosper, right? So I'll try to make these things more regular. And if you have any other sort of preferences, I mean, I'm flexible to move this the timing to a later, or maybe later, not earlier time. If you guys prefer that, it's fine. But other than that, I'm open if you want to reach out to me on Telegram, and if you go to that link that I sent on the chat, you will find me. Other than that, you have a great day, and I will see you next time.